going to start this morning with a bit of an audio Turing test. I'm going to play you two pieces of music, one of which was written by a person, and one of which was written by a computer. And I want you to tell me which one is which. Here's the first. In fact, I'm just going to switch the audio output to give you the sound. There we go. So that's the first. Here's the second. So, there you go, two pieces of music. Hands up who thinks the first one was written by a person. Cool. And hands up who thinks the second one was written by a person. Excellent. Always love that. I can tell you that the first one was indeed written by a person. The second one was written by our system at JukeDeck. And the idea that computers can create music, or might one day create music, goes back much further than you might think. Back in 1843, Ada Lovelace, in her notes on the sketch of the analytical engine, wrote that the engine might compose elaborate and scientific piece of music of any degree of complexity. This is the godmother of modern computing, writing over 150 years ago that computers might one day make music, which, when we came across it, some years after we started, we were quite staggered by. But when will this happen? When will computers be able to write music? And I think specifically good music. And here in the first problem lies, music is subjective. Some people don't even like Justin Bieber, much to my annoyance. But essentially, people think music, judge music very differently, one person to the next. But I think we can place two broad measures on this. First of all, can you tell the difference? And I think we've just seen roughly a 50-50 split in this room. It is difficult. And second of all, importantly, are people prepared to use it? And at JukeDeck, where, as was said, we're building a system that can create music, we've found it's taken a while for people to use it. Back in 2014, when we first released bits of our system to the outside world, here's what it sounded like. Very John Cage. I will just try and play that through this. And much like is happening now, everyone laughed at us. We had about 100 investors just laugh us out the room, literally slamming the doors in our faces, asking, what the hell are you doing? This is ridiculous, you're wasting our time. And they probably had a point. We were actually quite proud of that little tune there, because, I know, but it was a system composing a coherent melody and chord sequence completely by itself. But I can empathize with people who found it difficult to see sort of beyond the slightly Super Mario-esque qualities of it. However, I won't play that again. We stuck through it, and I will. And by 2016, it sounded a bit like this. Now, a bit less laughter, which is good, and at this point, people actually began to use the music created by our system. We had lots of YouTube videos use it, lots of explainer videos, how-to videos, etc., but it still wasn't that sophisticated. It had very limited knowledge about music. It didn't know how to really create a nice tune beyond sort of a few bars, let alone a whole piece, let alone a symphony. And so we had some work to do. And so by 2018, our music sounds like this. So, and we don't see any reason why this progression will stop. It will keep getting better each and every day. And actually, I just created a track the other day that I particularly liked. I thought I'd just play it for you. For those who aren't neoclassical piano fans, you might be more into a bit of EDM. So this took a few seconds to create, and we see a tremendous array of utility for this sort of technology. But I think it throws open so many interesting questions, like, will computers just completely take over and be the musicians of the next century? Will that be the end for human composers as we know it? Spoiler alert, the answer is no, at least from our perspective. We are 18 musicians based over in Moorgate, all with an inherent love of making music. We are not setting out with the intention of replacing ourselves. I think there are many reasons why computers won't replace musicians, but at the heart of it, I think about, this is a very faint picture of Ed Sheeran, if you can possibly see through my misty, opaque slide. And it's this. We as humans engage with music for so many more reasons than just the notes on the page or the sound emitting from my laptop. We engage because of the context, because of who the person is who is performing the music, who has written the music, where they've come from, their journey, what they've brought to the music through their own experiences. I engage with Ed Sheeran because I know he sort of took 10 years to make it. He slogged it out on sofas in LA. If anyone's listened to his Desert Island Disc podcast, anyone hasn't listened to it, I thoroughly recommend it. It's a fascinating story about how he has evolved as a musician over the last 10 years, the way in which he brings his own experiences to the music he makes. And computers, frankly, cannot do this. They cannot bring a context, an emotion, a story to the pieces that the systems create. And for that reason, I think there's no way in hell that we as listeners are going to engage with AI music on the same level, or really any level, certainly as human composers. So why the hell are we doing what we're doing? Why are we teaching a system how to create music? Well, we see a huge array of utility in what this does. And I think I'll just point to two different aspects. Firstly, this can help more people make music more easily. Right now, making music is very elitist. It's very unfair. Most people cannot make music. Most people can sort of kick a table or sort of scream, but they cannot make good music because making music is hard. It requires either the privilege of musical education or time to teach yourself how to make music. And for that reason, there's a huge gulf. There exists this massive gulf between the professionals and those who aspire to make music or even begin to make music. So most people can't even start. Even at the professional level, it takes hours to make a track of music. We know we spend hours doing this in our time, particularly if your job is to create music, say for TV series or videos for a living. It can take you sort of days to create a single track of music. And within that, if you're being asked to create 4 hours of music a week, you get things like writer's block, because it is difficult constantly having the ideas to be creative. So we see two first applications of this. One, helping amateur musicians make music for the first time by providing a much more intuitive way to make music, not requiring them to have knowledge of chords and scales and rhythmic sequences, etc., but simply doing such things as drawing a line on a page and letting the computer create music that follows that line, or humming in, and this is a feature we've just built, humming in a tune, the computer harmonizing that, and then extending that into a full piece of music. So you have added your creative ideas. Your role is a bit like the role a user has with Instagram. You have provided a lot of the creative input. You let the computer assist you and do a lot of the stuff which you don't yet have knowledge about. And then at the professional end, we see this speeding up the creative workflows of professional creators, giving them ideas when they need to, or harmonizing their melodies, or extending them, or finishing their pieces of music, because, and thus speeding up their creativity. And I want to give you two brief examples of how this has happened for us. The first happened about 1.5 years ago when one of the users of our technology, we have a website which lets you make music at the touch of a button, which was targeted just at video creators and giving them soundtracks for their videos. But one of our users, a wonderful lady called Princess Rizu, I think that might be a stage name, got in touch and said, I see your site is designed to let people create soundtracks for videos. However, I'm a musician, or at least an aspiring musician, but I've never been able to write my own music because I haven't had a musical education, and I have no clue how to write a backing track. I love singing, I love creating melodies, but creating a track which goes alongside that is not something I have knowledge about. Until AI helped me do it. AI assisted me in my creative process. And here is a Christmas video that she published, in which she has composed the melody, she sings the melody, but she has used AI to create the backing track and thus enable her to release a full track of music.
Dance upon the snow, twinkling in the cold, bells ring out far and wide. We are warm inside, if home is where the heart is, then where
She clearly has some knowledge of making music. I think she's got a rather lovely voice. But the important thing here is that she felt that without assistance, she couldn't create and release those full tracks. And that, I think, is the really interesting thing here.